Justin here. Today I got a short exercise video that's going to go over how you can use exercise bands to fix your back pain. Let's get right on to it.
Alright team, so in this video we got 9 different exercises that are going to be targeting the muscles of the upper thoracic spine, the shoulder, and the shoulder girdle mainly. One good tip is to know the origin and insertion points of where the muscles are attached. That way we know the action that the muscle is pulling on the bones. Before we dive into these exercises, I did want to show you a couple diagrams of the muscles that we are going to be working. A lot of these movements are going to be working the rotator cuff, which is responsible for keeping our humerus in its shoulder joint socket. The origin and insertion points of the rotator cuff are going to be the humerus and the shoulder blade. We're going to have a lot of movements at the shoulder blade, so it's important to know which muscles work at the shoulder blade. And since we are going to be targeting muscles that are working at our back, it is important to know the muscles that attach the shoulder blade to the spine. These exercises are going to be targeting myofascial trigger points on your upper back, which may be causing soreness or tightness in the back. And lastly, it's important to know the movements of the shoulder girdle. That way we are aware of the muscle movements that are taking place on our thoracic spine. One quick note to mention is that in this video I will have a 30-second timer playing for each exercise, but you can perform each exercise for however long you need or however many reps you need to release these trigger points. With that said, let's get right on into our exercises to release those myofascial trigger points in the upper back. Alright, to kick this off, we're going to start with scapular retractions. Biggest thing with this exercise is you're going to be wanting to pull through the elbows, similar if you were going to be squeezing a pencil between the shoulder blades. This movement is primarily going to be targeting the trapezius and the rear deltoid, but it is important to go slow and controlled to allow the shoulder girdle to glide through this motion. Next up, we're going to be doing our scapular downward rotations. This movement is primarily going to be targeting the rear delt, the lower trapezius, and the rhomboid major and minor. With this movement, you're going to want to be keeping the arms primarily straight with a slight bend in the elbows, but the main focus should be on the muscles pulling on the mid to lower back. You will also be working the triceps and latissimus dorsi as a secondary muscle. This next movement is an isometric external rotation. The muscles that we're going to be targeting in this movement are primarily going to be the rotator cuff along with the trapezius. As you can see here, I am sidestepping to the left and the right while keeping the arm fixed at 90 degrees at the elbow. This is going to allow us to work the origin and insertion points of the rotator cuff without actually having to push it through the movement. Moving into the next exercise, we're going to be doing a reverse upper back fly. This movement is primarily going to be targeting the trapezius and the rhomboids major and minor, along with the rear deltoids in the shoulder. Like mentioned before, we're going to want to go slow and controlled, as you can see in this clip, and to add a little bit extra of stimulation to the muscles, you can do a slight pause when you make a T with your upper body. Next up, we're going to be performing external rotations of the rotator cuff. For this movement, you're going to want to pack your shoulders by retracting and depressing your shoulder blades down, keeping the shoulder girdle nice and stabilized. This will allow us to have more focused action on the rotator cuff muscles. Next up, we're going to be doing upright external rotations. This is also going to be an external rotator cuff movement. Key points with this exercise here is to keep the elbows at 90 degrees, along with engaging the core and glutes to assist with keeping the back nice and straight during this movement. Next up, we're going to be performing internal rotations. This movement is going to be working the rotator cuff, the pec major, the anterior deltoid, and the latissimus dorsi. During this movement, you're going to want to be keeping your elbow fixed at 90 degrees along with your arm tucked into the side. To keep this video short, I recorded myself only performing this exercise on one side, but you will want to perform this on both sides. Next up, we have our single arm external rotation. This movement is also going to be working the rotator cuff muscle along with the trapezius. Similar to our last exercise, you're going to want to be keeping the elbow fixed at 90 degrees and doing your best to tuck the arm into the side. And like mentioned in the last clip, you will want to perform this exercise on both sides. And lastly, we got our isometric reverse fly plus breath work. For this movement, we're going to want to be keeping our arms fixed at a T motion like you can see here. While keeping our muscles contracted, we're going to be focusing in on our breath. By doing this, we're going to keep our core nice and tight, exhaling all the air out that we can while breathing through our nose, allowing separation between the upper thoracic vertebrae. That's going to do it for this video, everyone. Give these exercises a try, and I'll see you in the next video.